and they said, would Wolfsbane like to support Iron Maiden on the UK tour? Of course, we were absolutely overjoyed. And it was 31 sold-out shows in the UK. Well, nobody does that. Nobody can do that. You can't do it now. No one can do it. But Iron Maiden could do it. So, and our name was on the tickets and everything. So we did the tour with them, and it was fantastic. Absolutely, just the best support tour I ever did. I didn't want to go home. You know, I was nearly crying on the last day. And then when Bruce left and they were looking for a replacement, they were auditioning different people, and Steve phoned me up and he said, would you like to have an audition for the band? He said, we already know your stuff and we've seen you live, so we're doing the auditions. Would you like to have a go at it? And I said, yeah, because, you know, I liked, even from my very early days when I was cleaning the hotel, I was listening to Iron Maiden and I always loved the band. So to have the opportunity just to have an audition with a huge legend in the name of metal, someone who has done everything, has been first in so many areas of music, was just incredible. So you had to learn 10 songs, which were all the classics that are normally in a Maiden set, from the Di'Anno era through to the Bruce era. And I learnt all of those songs, and so did everybody else. And they invited me down one day, and I just thought, well, at least for an hour, I'm in Iron Maiden, and I'm singing with Iron Maiden, so I'm just going to, I've done all the rehearsing I can, I'm just going to try and enjoy it, and enjoy the fact that I'm singing with this legendary band. And when it started, it was absolutely awesome. It was just incredible. It's just a rehearsal room, but the sound in the rehearsal room of Dave Murray's guitar sounded, and it's like from the record and from live, and it sounds exactly the same. Dave Murray's playing, you can see his fingers, and it's smooth and bluesy and hard and everything. It's like, whoa. And then Nico is just the loudest drummer I've ever heard. He's got no mics on his kit or anything, and it's boof, baff, boof. Oh, God, it was incredible. And then Steve Harris, you can't even see his fingers when he's playing. It was absolutely a great experience, and I'd learnt all the songs, I'd learnt all the vocal parts, but I'd also learnt all the drum fills and all the drum parts and some of the bass lines as well. So I knew exactly where every drum fill was, where every crash was, where all the double hits on the snare were, when all the little changes were. So I just absolutely had a great time. I just thought, well, I'm just going to go for it. And anyway, I was, you know, I said thanks to everybody. And a few days later, they said, would you like to come back for the second audition? And this time you had to sing in the studio. And so they could see what your voice was going to be like recorded. So I went down and did that. And a couple of weeks after that, then they phoned me up and said, well, if you want to come down, I'd like to talk to you about about being a singer in the band. And I went down, I met the manager and the rest of the guys, and they said, well, we liked what you did, so we're going to offer you the job. And well, it was just fantastic, and it was just before Christmas as well. So it was an absolutely fantastic Christmas present.
Never to win, to turn. Better to be on your own. Trust the friend like a tree. Better than follow a dream. Won't come true anyway. Play to win, not scared to lose. Walk the path you choose.
How did the fans take to you, to your person?
Well, I was very, very lucky. When I joined Iron Maiden, I was the new guy. I was replacing a very established singer, and I had a very different voice. And the first album that we came out with, The X Factor, it's definitely an Iron Maiden album, but it does sound quite a lot different to previous Maiden albums because the vocal is quite different. It's a darker sounding voice that I have. And the music as well, I think it was a dark time for the band, and a lot of the music that Steve Harris wrote for that album reflected that. There was a lot of real agony and pain in the X Factor music, and beautiful in a tragic way, a really dark kind of beautiful music that takes a long time to get into, but I think eventually is very engrossing. And when we went on tour, then obviously I was very nervous about everything, but the fans just treated me like a king. You know, I was so lucky, really, that I had so much support and encouragement from so many fans. I just don't think I could have done it without that. So I loved the music, and the fans gave me the warmest welcome everywhere I went and made me feel real part of Iron Maiden and part of the band. And it was a great start, and we went everywhere with the X Factor album. We started off in Israel and right out there, and we did a video on the top of Masada by the you know, the Red Sea, isn't it, that you're floating. And it was fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
The X Factor is one of the best albums of Iron Maiden. It's very popular in Poland, and Sign of the Cross is one of the biggest hits. What do you remember from the time when you are recording this number, this track?
Well, Steve Harris is an unusual person in the way that he writes, and he's an immensely gifted person, and but his ideas are very unique. So some ideas he would come into rehearsals when we were writing, like Lord of the Flies, and it would be, oh, okay, yeah, well, now we get it. And he brought in Sign of the Cross, and no one could understand it. No one could understand it. No one was like, it was like, yeah, there's this bit, and then it does this, and then we do this, and then we do this, and then it does this bit, and it was like, what? And it took us all day just to grasp what the different parts of the song were. Nobody could play it. So it took us a day to do that, and then when we actually came to try to do the recording, we had to break the song down into sections and record the little sections and everything like that. And it wasn't until we did that and listened back to it that you could hear the dynamics of the song, because it tells a complete story about someone going from a very, very dark place and then finding their own salvation. And that story is in the lyrics, but it's also in the music and the way the music goes as well. And once I started singing the lead vocal on it, and I was singing that huge chorus, it was just absolutely fantastic, because my voice felt different and sounded different. And it was a place that I would have never got to on my own, writing a song. But because I was singing something that Steve Harris had pictured my voice singing that, and he'd put around my voice, it was a fantastic experience. So it's a big favourite with the fans from that album. And it's a personal favourite of mine because I worked so closely with Steve on it. We spent a long time in the studio and in all of the soft parts, and we turned all the lights down and worked on different parts, and then sometimes we would try and get particular expression on the voice. So we'd say, right, well, we'll come back, we'll start early tomorrow morning when you can't really sing to get the soft parts, and then, right, we'll do this bit late at night when you're fired up to get the really heavy parts and stuff like this. So it was a lengthy process recording Sign of the Cross, but it was a great experience, an absolutely great experience. And live, you could never predict the reaction of the fans live, because it comes out, it's nearly 7 minutes long, and you look at 7 minutes on an album and think, well, that's too long. But there's no bit of Sign of the Cross that you could take out. It would just spoil it. It's a complete song that tells a complete story. And it's one that with my own band, Blaze, that we do our own version of it. So, and we get a great reaction from the fans whenever we do it.
Mm-hmm. What's the biggest venue you played with Maiden?
Well, played a lot of big venues, but headlining, I think the biggest venues were in Brazil, and we played to 65,000 people and 35,000 people there. Most nights on the X Factor tour, then we were playing to between 12 and 20,000 people most nights, which for me, coming from a small band,